Welcome to the Pum Pum Chronicles. I am your host, Badass Jones.
When you think about the amount of time seriously that you actually spend with a person that you're involved in a relationship with, it really and truly may only be the weekends, right? I'm happy that I'm helping you make a checklist of what, but it's true, right? If you map out your time effectively and you plan effectively, you do prudent planning, you can make the relationship work. It's like with anything else. Think about it this way. If you have a job that requires you to drive 45 minutes to an hour to your job, but that job is paying you $20,000 a year more than a job that's just up the street, are you going to pick the job that pays you less for the convenience of it? Or are you going to pick the job that is a little bit further away but offers you more? Right? It's the same thing I say all the time. I've been preaching forever. People choose, oftentimes, not always, people will choose relationships that are convenient as opposed to what's worth it. Maybe, look at investing, Mr. Chris Broadway. You wake up early, but and that's exactly it, Goody, right? When you're looking at, you know what? I'm going to take that job that pays me $20,000 more, even if it takes me 40 minutes longer to get there, because it's worth it. I mean, right now, I know people who commute into the city. They commute into downtown Toronto, from suburbs that are an hour to an hour and a half away. But why? One, because where they live, it's a little bit cheaper. But two, the main thing is the money, right? The job that they've got is paying them $20,000 to $35,000 more, as opposed to a job that they could take in the same city as them that's paying them $20,000 to $35,000 less. So for them, they are choosing what's valuable over what's convenient. And I don't think people don't think about relationships in that sort of way, right? You need to look at what is valuable versus what's convenient. And I think this is why people go from relationship to relationship. Convenience doesn't make a good relationship, right? You end up resenting the person. You end up thinking, okay, well, why did I bother? I still don't see you a whole lot, even though you're right around the corner. It doesn't make any sense, right? Right. You have people that travel from Jersey to New York for work because it's worth it. Right? They could stay in New Jersey and get a mediocre job. Or people who travel from the east end of the city to Mississauga. It's like an hour and a half, right? But you travel for what's worth it, right? And it's the same for relationships. When you're looking to build a relationship with someone, at some point you have to build a relationship on what is worth it, not just what is convenient. And that's what's fucking up a lot of people, because they get into these situations of convenience and these relationships of convenience, and then they're not happy. And you don't have to wonder why. You're in a relationship of convenience. You're there, maybe the sex was great and maybe you guys hung out and you had a couple of laughs, but at some point, okay, you don't have anything in common. They're a morning person, you're a night person. They've got kids, you're not ready to have a family. You like cats, they like dogs. Whatever the differences are, that's a relationship of convenience, because you keep saying to yourself, okay, well, the sex is really great. Maybe we can build on that. You can't build a relationship from convenience. You build relationships from what's worth it, from mutual interest, from mutual benefits. Anyways, I'm going on. The point is, long distance, yes, dogs rule, but I'm a cat person too, but I like dogs. I do like dogs, but I'm definitely, as you guys have all seen, I'm a cat person. Good is just good, but anything great, you have to put work. Say that for the people in the motherfucking back. Anything that is worth it, you have to put work in. And that's like a standard thing, right? So it's like people feel like, you're in a relationship, everything should just come easy. It's not. It's like when you're in a job, you train, and then what ends up happening, they implement a new system to make the company more effective, and then you continue training, right? You're always upgrading your skills, and you should always look to upgrade your skills. It's the same way you're in a relationship, right? You fight for what's valuable. Exactly. You fight for what is valuable and worth it to you, right? You don't just settle into a relationship. When you settle into anything, it never works, because you become complacent, you lose your passion, you're not interested, there's no drive, and there's no push behind it. That person doesn't make you smile. That person doesn't make like the tapeworm in your belly dance, or, the person doesn't give you the butterflies. When you look at that person, you're just like, ugh, why am I here? And sometimes people stay for the convenience of just not being alone, as opposed to saying, you know what, let me just not do this anymore. Catechist Chronicles rules. She's crazy. I love her, and she's the craziest cat person on the planet, but we digress. But long distance attractions and relationships and curiosity, they can work. It really and truly is just about the effort that people want to put in. Some relationships are definitely harder than others. Some relationships definitely take more work than others, especially, like if the person lives in a whole other country. It's difficult, I've dated a man that lived in Catechus rules. Everyone loves Catechus. Yeah, I think she was a girl in another life. I tell Nick this all the time. Like, she was definitely a person in another life. Like, her whole personality, when you look at her eyes. I think for Bree, it's the same way, like, when you look at Jack. Like, he's like an old man. He feels like he has an old soul. Anyway, so I dated somebody that was in Detroit, and we dated maybe for about 6 months, and in the struggle of trying to make things work or whatever, it didn't work out, but what ended up happening is we forged a really great friendship. And to this day, we're still friends, Those are things of value, but both of us realized that it wasn't something that we could make work. And instead of just staying in it for the sake of staying in it, we didn't. We moved on to a healthier place of just being friends. Part of the problem is that, again, that people get stuck. People get stuck by convenience. People get stuck by comfort. And those two things can never make a relationship work. Relationships they're work, period. Jack was, is he bougie? Oh my goodness me. Okay. So we're going to move on to the next topic, because I know this thing times out after about an hour. So I'm going to do the 3 topics and then we can all just chit chat. So the next one was submitted by Angie_Young75, and she wanted for us to discuss. Hi, sis. My sister just logged on. That's Keish Devine. She's a makeup artist. If you're in Canada, in the Toronto and surrounding area, she does fabulous makeup. Please check her out. So Angie_Young75, Kuzo89, what's up, darling? She wanted us to talk about men dating younger women than themselves, like in their 20s, and stealing their youth. And it's really interesting. When I read that question, my immediate thought was a thing that's been going on through social media lately about Diddy. Diddy is dating Steve Harvey's stepdaughter, Marjorie Harvey's wife. And the craziest thing about that situation is she was formerly dating one of his sons. Crazy. She's early 20s, and Diddy is like, well, he's old. He's in his 40s, I'm guessing. You know what I mean? It's a disturbing topic, and I feel like this could go left into like the R. Kelly topic, which we're really not going to do because I don't want to go there. No, you haven't missed Bree and I going live. We're going to, but just not today. Right. So the young lady's 22 and Diddy's 49. And the craziest part for me is that she was dating his son and now she's dating him, right? And Kinks with Kiki, you're absolutely right. She'll just see Diddy's problem is, and for a lot of these men, is they're looking for what's going to keep them young and hip and vibesy. You know what I mean? And for them, they feel like that's new blood, because they're not going to be with a woman that's their age, because a woman that's their age is looking to settle down, looking for a home. If they've got a family, looking to continue to build that family, looking to build a business, looking to settle into life and, travel and to continue to build that sort of empire. And maybe sometimes women of his age are not necessarily as fun and exciting and, out there and doing all them things there. But these men, I feel personally, it's like they're trying to recapture their youth. And the only way that they can do that is by dating a girl who doesn't know any better. And that's it. Like, no disrespect to her, but she's a girl. She's 22. You know what I mean? What does she have to offer you in terms of longevity? What does she have to offer you in terms of a future? What does she have to offer you just even in terms of mental and emotional support at 22? And not to say that she's not mature, but she's 22. She should be doing things that 22-year-olds do, like dating other 22-year-olds. She's dating somebody that could be her father. And that to me is just crazy, because it's not like he has any intention to marry her, because he didn't marry Kim, who's the mother of 3 of his children, his twins and his son. He didn't marry Jennifer Lopez, and that's why she booked. He didn't marry Cassie, and that's why she booked. Like, you know what I mean? At some point, they realized that, he's in it for the pum-pum, he's in it for the notoriety, he's in it for the eye candy and the trophy on his arm. But outside of that, he's not trying to be nothing serious with these girls. Not cool. You steal people's time like that. Only weak men do that, but it's a two-way street. She knows better. True. And that's exactly, she has nothing to offer but a pretty face and a good body and some good pum pum. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things, like, she's too young to push back, like in terms of arguing with him about business, or in terms of, saying to him like, oh, maybe you shouldn't be doing this, because at some point you have those kind of child conversations with somebody that's that much younger than you because they're a child. So, you know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine myself dating a 22-year-old man and him coming a step to me and saying, oh, you shouldn't do that, or you can't, because I'd look at him like, fam, you're younger than my son. Who are you talking to like that? You know what I mean? Anything that she says to him is not going to be anything that's respected. She's a pretty girl. She's got a great body, and she's impressionable. That's what she has to offer. Going to woman ain't cool. I have a 5-year rule. I don't date anyone younger than 5 years. I don't know about her pum pum not being good, Brie. I can't talk about that. When you're in a relationship, the bigger age gap, the less you can relate with on mental and emotional level. I completely, absolutely agree. And Carolina King 79, you're right. He does it for the status. Again, she's part of the Steve Harvey clan. She's part of, the beautiful women that are in the, Marjorie Harvey's family. And again, you're 22. Like, what is it that you have to offer a 49-year-old man? I just want to know, who were we talking about? We're talking about Diddy and, I don't know her name, Marjorie Harvey's daughter. Impressionable is definitely dangerous. And you know what? I will say, my biggest age gap, I think, that I've dated somebody who was 13 years younger than me. So let's talk about this. Let's put this shit out there, right? When it's okay, so give me a minute. Let's speak my truth. So I dated a younger man who was 13 years younger than I am. And when he's like, I can't even say that I'm embarrassed, so just allow me, okay? So when I brought him home, he came home one day, like, to hang out, right? Yes, 13. Niche, come on, just hear the story. So when I brought him home, and like he came home one day, like, for us to hang out or whatever. So I was like, okay. So at this point we had been dating like maybe 6 months. So I'm like, okay, you know what? It's a good time for him to meet my kids. TB3, what's going on, darling? Your fiance is 10 years younger. Okay, see, but if she's 20 and you're 30, that's a problem. If you're like if she's closer to 30 and you're closer to 40, that's not so bad. For me, it's the youngness of anyone who's 25 and under. Anyway, so my story is, so he came home and we were hanging out, and we were having dinner. I had cooked and whatever, and my young adults were not home at the time. Lori Harvey, I think is her name, right? So my young adults were not home at the time, and so when they came home, the look on my son's face was like, who's this guy? Because when you look at him, he looks super young, and my son has a very mature face, right? He's got long dreadlocks and he's got a very full beard. And so I could tell from the body language of my kids, they were polite, but I could tell from the body language of my young people and the way that they spoke to him that they didn't approve. And not necessarily because him himself, but because he looked like a kid. So the craziest story is, 3 months later, we go on vacation. We went to Cuba for his birthday. And we're at the People's Airport, and we're at the People's Counter checking in. And the woman behind the counter takes my passport and takes his passport and looks at me and says, "Is this your son?" Miss, I'm nearly dead. I don't think I've ever wished for the ground to open up and swallow me more than that. Honestly, I thought I was going to die and I didn't even respond to her. I just looked at her dead in her face, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And she continued checking us in, and he didn't blink. The people them, right? He didn't blink and he didn't say anything, right? So I know, right? So like, I was friggin' mortified. Like, I swear to you, I don't think I've ever been more embarrassed. Listen to me. I could have walked somewhere and the whole of the back of my dress tear off and my body is outside, and I wouldn't have felt as embarrassed as when I was standing at the counter, at the people them counter, and the woman said, "Is this your son?" No, he was 13 years younger than me. I was older, TB3. I was 13 years older than him. That was my young dating story, right? Embarrass your fuck. Oh my gosh. So after we cleared customs and whatever, he still hasn't said anything to me about it, right? So we stop and we're getting breakfast and we're talking. I'm like, "Are you not going to say anything?" And he's like, "What do you want me to say?" And I'm like, Guy, she asked me if I was your mom. And he's like, babe, don't worry about it. You don't look that old. Kelly, hi. So he's like, don't worry about it. You don't. And for me, it's not a matter of whether I look old or not. Like, I definitely know that I don't look at my age. And when I tell people how old I am, it's like always, it's like, oh my God, really? It's just, but it's not even that. Like, even though I look young, he looked considerably younger. Young enough that the woman behind the counter, the people's check-in agent, asked me if I was somebody. So after that, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm good. And then it just posed problems because it's like, I will kill you if you say, hey, auntie, really? And black don't crack. Thank you very much to Saya. I decided after that, like, and then we had some difficulties on the trip. And then, like, for me, at some point, I feel like when you're dating someone who's younger, their younger personality will show. It just does. No, he wasn't a teenager. Hi, C, Spank 911. I'm the only one, Carter. What's going on, everybody? He was 27 at the time. No, he was 26 at the time, and I hadn't turned 40 yet. I was 39. But when we went on vacation, it's like certain things about his age and certain things about his personality started to speak for themselves. And, after that trip, I just kind of resolved with myself that, I had to scale back that window. Because, people love to say to you when you're an older woman, no, we went to Cuba. People love to say to you, oh, age is just a number. And so this is my theory, right? Goody, wapm, good gal, wapm, when goody step out. No, I'm not 40. I'm older than 40. Hi, we're not going to get into this age discussion. Come, please. I talked to a guy that was 50 when I was 30, that age gap. But it does show. You know what I mean? Thank you. And I say this all the time, like, it does. I know people say age is just a number. It's not to say that there aren't younger people who are very mature and older people who are, hip and youthful. But really and truly, at some point, people's ages start to show. You see, like me now, when I was younger, I would go to a dance and go to a party and be out all night. These days, by 10 o'clock, I want to be rolled up in my bed watching a movie on Netflix. Me not try go no place. You know what I mean? If I go to a dance now, you know what I mean? Like before, like when you're in Jamaica, dances start at like, you know what I mean? Oh, I love you, Nick. Dances start at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Brethren, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm not trying to leave my bed to go to nobody's dance. I'm going to nobody's dance at them time of morning. But that's what it is, you know what I mean? So you have to adjust yourself and think like that. But I feel like for me now, a 5-year age gap isn't so bad. Anyways, to bring it back to the topic, men look for women, some men, older men look for women that they can date who are younger because they're impressionable, because they don't have to really offer them anything. When you look at those kind of situations, it's like, if you've got a flashy car, if you've got a little bit of money, you don't even have to fuck that great. If you give them things, they're happy and they'll stay. I agree. I love older for this reason. I'm such a homebody, and the older men I deal with are just, they want to chill at home, right? Niche. Okay, but that's the thing. Like, you get to a point where your priorities are different. But like I said, because he's a celebrity and he's in the spotlight, and not even people who have celebrity status, you just have a lot of men who will date younger because it's easier. Play them keys. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate the compliment. You have a lot of men who will date women who are younger just for the fact that it's easier. There's less that you have to give. So they think. There's less work that you have to put in. There's less effort. And the thing is, when you're younger, I feel like because you haven't had a whole lot of life experience, like at 22, you don't have a lot of life experience. You know what I mean? You don't know better. And so whatever the person's offering you, you kind of just take it. It's like, when you're 22, you don't know the difference between like going to Longhorn Steakhouse versus Ruth Chris Steakhouse. You know what I mean? At my age, I'm trying to go to Ruth Chris. I'm not trying to go to Longhorn. Not that there's anything wrong with Longhorn, but you know what I mean? But it's one of those things where you can give, I feel like you can give less to somebody who's younger because their expectations haven't really been set or built on yet. And I think that that's why older men date much, much younger women, because it's easier for them. I think it's a maturity level, to be honest. Yes. They just want a SpongeBob fruit snacks. That's not nice. Oh. That's weird. She smashed the son, and now, right, and that's what we were talking about early, because Diddy was the young lady was with Diddy's son, and then they broke up, and now she's with the dad. So, and when it, like you ever read those memes, like you fuck around on me, I'll marry your dad, and then I'll be your stepmom. That's it. That's what it makes me think of. It's one of those weird things. Women definitely need to start, people, not just women, but people on a whole need to start requiring more, because you also have, and maybe for men it's a little bit different, and I never really understand why. It's like if a younger man dates an older woman, it's not necessarily as bad, because those relationships tend to be more about sex than anything else. And a younger man feels, like he's going in with things. He feels like he's a big man. He feels like he's a superstar if he's bagged a woman who's 20, 25 years older than her, and he's flinging hood up in her on a regular basis, right? But it's one of those things. It is untasteful. Like, I couldn't think to myself that I would be okay with my daughter. She's 21. I couldn't be okay with her dating someone my age or her dad's age. Like, I would have real issue with it. So there's a story that I wanted to tell, right? So there's a gentleman that I grew up around, and I called him dad. It was one of those really things, right? And yeah, there's less effort involved. So anyways, so I called him dad, and it was strange because I look like his daughters and I look like him, and everybody just thought that I was one of his kids. And I remember going by to see him at his restaurant one day. I'm like, where's my little sis? And at the time she was 13 going on 14. And he's like, I have something to tell you. I'm like, what? And he's like, she's breeding. I said, she's breeding for who? So this is what ends up happening, right? So in his restaurant in the basement, there's his older men friends, like his older gentlemen friends would gather in the basement. They'd play dominoes, they'd drink, they'd smoke and whatever. And she would go down and she'd bring like the beer downstairs to get him and this, that, and the third. And so what ends up happening is she ends up hanging out down there on a regular basis. Come to find out, says she's breeding for one of my dad's friends. You know what I mean? And so when I say to him, how old is this man? This man had to have been Dane HSM, I don't know who you are, and I am not accepting for you to be part of my live. I'm sorry. So when I asked him, how old was this man? This man had to have been, first of all, that's rape, flat out. You're a kid. You're not you're a kid. You're not even a young adult. You're a kid. 14, right? And then I guess the man that breed her was probably in his 40s. And I'm saying to my dad, like, so what are you going to do? And he's like, what am I supposed to do? She feels like she's a big woman. She decides she wants to take hood. She decides she's going to breed. She's going to take care of her child. And that kind of thing, first of all, if that was my kid, that man would have to die. Like, plain and simple, somebody would be going to jail. Right? It's just one of those kind of crazy situations. But again, that man preyed on or chose my little sister because it was easy. It was easy. She was impressionable. What ends up happening is these older men make these little girls feel like they're women. You know what I mean? They make you feel like you're sexy and your body turn up and this kind of thing. And you have a lot of young girls who are in such a rush, such urgency and haste to grow up and to be a grown woman that they easily fall into that trap. You know what I mean? And they feel like, oh, like, I'm a big woman because I'm fucking an older man, or I'm a big woman because I'm sleeping with an older man. He is absolutely dirty and nasty. You're absolutely right.